There are three main ways to inspect for mold: physical cues, air samples, and swab samples. Inspecting for physical cues may include all of your senses and the use of some modern technology. Using your sense of sight to identify signs of moisture could include locating a stain, physical damage, a wet spot, or an active leak. Using your sense of hearing to locate moisture could allow you to locate an active drip leak or running water. Using your sense of smell to identify moisture could include walking into a room that smells musty or different from the other rooms of the house. Using your sense of touch to identify moisture could include touching a damp surface or just feeling the increased level of humidity as it hits your skin. Using tools such as infrared cameras and moisture meters can confirm the presence of moisture, but the most important tool is your brain. Being able to understand how the house works and how moisture issues can occur is the most valuable skill that a home inspector has. What you might have noticed is that I did not say use your senses and tools to identify mold. I said use your senses and tools to identify moisture. Without moisture, mold will not grow, and since mold is all around us, both in our indoor and outdoor air, the real problem isn't the presence of mold, but instead the growth of mold. Before we discuss air samples and swab samples, let's learn a little bit more about the role that mold plays in our natural world and how its growth can damage our homes. Mold is a fungus and a natural part of the environment. Mold can be found anywhere that moisture and oxygen are present, and mold's role in nature is to break down organic matter such as materials that we use to build our homes. Mold spreads by using reproductive cells called spores. Spores can stay dormant and alive for years after being produced until they happen to land on a surface where the conditions are just right. Filtering your home's air to remove mold spores is important because mold spores can be allergens even when they're dead. There are potentially millions of species of mold on this planet, but here's a short list of 115, just the ones worth mentioning. The overwhelming majority of mold spores live in harmony with humans, but there's always a few bad actors that can, on rare occasions, trigger allergies or asthma. Mold can be categorized by its color, and there can be white mold, yellow mold, green mold, orange mold, brown mold, pink mold, and the dreaded and much feared black mold. But there's no single type of mold referred to as black mold. In fact, there are many. But when people say black mold, they're normally talking about Stachybotrys shatarum. If mold is found in your house, it's important to determine if there's an active moisture issue. If there is an active moisture issue, then the first step should be to stop the source of moisture. Once the moisture has been stopped, then the area should be allowed to dry, and then the area should be cleaned. Most houses have mold issues that are completely visible to the homeowner, such as mold on the shower curtain, mold on the shower tile grout, or mold on the ceiling above the shower. These are all indications of poor ventilation and moisture evacuation. These mold issues are even classified as black mold because of their color, but homeowners rarely seem concerned about mold in this part of their home. When it comes to the need for mold remediation, it almost seems like a personal preference. But when you do choose to remove mold, it is highly recommended that a mold remediation company is hired to remove any visible mold since they can use the proper cleaners. But remediation is pointless unless you stop the moisture. Many homeowners mistakenly think that bleach is a good way to remove mold, but bleach is 90% water, and when bleach is used on the porous surfaces such as wood, the chlorine content of the bleach dries up immediately, leaving behind water that can help the mold grow and spread even more. In a perfect world, mold should never be allowed to grow in your home, but since mold is already hidden in every nook and cranny of your house since the day of its construction, it's important to understand that finding mold isn't the end of the world. But instead, mold is nothing more than a helpful indicator of moisture issues that need to be resolved. Mold testing and remediation has its place in this world, but never let someone scare you into buying any service for your home without first learning the facts and understanding the risks. If at the end of the day you decide that you want to use an air sample tester to arbitrarily measure the amount of mold in your home, just remember to take the results with a grain of salt and think rationally about their meaning. I hope you learned something today. Have a wonderful day.